India, an ancient nation
And now,
that defied imperialism
redeem our pledge.
to be a modern economy at the heart of global growth. As technology evolved, so did India, becoming a country with one of the highest GDPs in the world. And among those who made India what it is today is the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the PhD CCI, a chamber where progress, harmony and development come together.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत.
And as India further progresses to be Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, PhD CCI is ready to play a pivotal role. As the chamber is the most prominent voice of the MSMEs, it is perfectly poised to work in this sector to translate the idea of self-reliance into a reality. PhD CCI has steered many policies at the national and state levels. As liberalized India was evolving to be the new India, the chamber was at an advantageous position to offer thought leadership. So, many prominent policies have inputs from the PhD CCI. And as its contribution to growth, the PhD CCI has organized prominent annual events such as the PITEX, Agri and Hortitech, Arogya Melas, Defense Expos and the Farm to Fork, among many others. Hence, the government recognized its contribution by issuing a postage stamp in 2005 in its centenary year. PhD CCI is a constant partner in the progress of the nation. It shares the government's dream of making India a $5 trillion economy by 2024 and has strongly supported the Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Startup India and Stand Up India movements. It has also been bridging the gap between policies and practices, particularly in supporting the MSMEs of the country. And its role is guided by the intense research it undertakes on different contemporary issues.
At the very beginning of the lockdowns caused by COVID-19, the PhD Chamber took proactive measures to begin holding webinars and virtual conferences in which all the stakeholders were invited. It provided the correct platform for the trade and industry to interact with the government authorities to try and minimize the disruptions caused by the lockdowns. In the face of such a difficult situation, the Government of India's resolve of building an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India with inclusive growth across all sectors of the economy deserves highest appreciation. The rupees 20 lakh crore stimulus package to alleviate the difficulties caused by COVID-19 has therefore proven to be very timely. All indicators for the month of September 2020 show that the economy is gaining its vitality back again. Electricity and fuel consumption is up. The volume of e-way bills increased to a record 57 million for the month. Railways increased their freight tonnage by 13% and a record 1.8 billion digital transactions were made.
What the chamber is achieving today is the fructification of a humble effort that started in 1905. That is, even before the national capital moved to Delhi, 8 prominent businessmen created the Punjab Chamber of Commerce. From this humble beginning to becoming a gigantic force in the Indian business scene, PhD CCI constantly evolved, successfully addressing the needs of the times. Every time. Its initiatives got the support of prominent personalities who steered the Indian economy. This partnership is still going on. PhD CCI has more than 2,200 direct and 1.5 lakh indirect members across India. And it has about 250 associate members and 16 state chapters. The chamber has its headquarters in Delhi, It has state offices in Delhi, Chandigarh, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Gujarat and Kerala.
The disruption caused by the pandemic is being seen as an opportunity to radically reform our health sector by developing world-class infrastructure and harnessing digital technology and artificial intelligence powered tools. During the critical phase, our esteemed PhD members provided timely support to state governments by building hospitals, health centers, and manufacturing world-class critical care equipment such as ventilators and PPEs. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Ayush is making optimal utilization of electronic and digital platforms for promoting indigenous practices of medicine and healthcare and digitalization of our health records. PhD Chamber organized a number of seminars, webinars on the Ayush system to facilitate knowledge building and the transfer of cutting-edge technology and skills so that we may truly become Atmanirbhar.
Industry 4.0 is changing the landscape of manufacturing industry in India. While technologies such as robotics, AI, ML, cloud computing and big data analytics already exist in the manufacturing sector, their integration with one another will transform the way we do business. The PhD CCI takes immense pride and thanks its members for making it a robust caucus, brimming with ideas, sharing with camaraderie and daring to grow.
The partner chambers of the PhD CCI are the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, Federation of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana Commerce and Industry, Federation of Karnataka Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and Federation of Industry and Commerce of Northeastern Region. The headquarter has all the facilities that help in outreach to the business and administrative functionaries. It has a state-of-the-art auditorium, conference halls and meeting rooms. The chamber organizes regular events and meets to facilitate the business community. PhD CCI plays a leading role in scouting for opportunities for Indian businesses abroad. As a part of this initiative, PhD CCI participated in exhibitions in Thailand, Russia, Bangladesh, Singapore and Iran. It opened its first overseas office in Bahrain in 2017 to reach out to the GCC countries. It has also participated in several India-specific events worldwide, such as the India Expo in Saudi Arabia, the 16th Global India Festival in Malaysia, Best of India in Azerbaijan, and the Best of India show at Sochi, Russia. The Chamber also accompanied the Prime Minister at several places across the globe. PhD CCI has signed an MOU with the European Business Group to strengthen ties in post-Brexit Europe. It has also formed an Ambassadors Economic Forum to boost business in countries not explored much till now.
When this pandemic started and when the lockdown was announced, PhD was one of the first chamber to bounce back, and it filled the gap which was there between the government and the industry. In fact, PhD made sure that all the problems with the industry which they were facing because of various reasons, be it state center coordination, we addressed most of those issues. We represented to the government and got most of the problems of the industry addressed at that point of time. I'm also happy to say that in last few years, PhD has positioned itself as a thought leader, as a think tank. Even in these pandemic times, we have made in last 6 months, we have made almost 152 representations to the government. And these are backed by the research being done by our research bureau. And also we have taken inputs from the industry. And I am happy to say that a number of our recommendations and inputs which were given to the government, they were accepted.
What makes PhD CCI the most innovative is its services to the MSMEs. It has about 50 specialized committees from a wide range of subjects ranging from agribusiness to airports. It has effective facilitation systems for MSMEs on issues such as loan facilitation, IPR, tenders and much more. For these, the Chamber has a full-fledged facilitation center.
Indian startups and innovators will play a vital role in the success of the Atmanirbhar mission. PhD believes that startups are the backbone of Indian economy, especially for generating employment and enhancing GDP to double-digit growth in the near future. Young startups in India are set to adopt radical solutions and breakthrough technology to leapfrog into the future. PhD Chamber, through the Young Business Leaders Forum, popularly known as YBLF, and the Startup Forum, plays an active role for the youth and their mentoring as future business leaders. These forums work effectively for promoting and developing business networking, leadership skills, organizing programs for disruptive learning, and simultaneously contribute to nation building.
As an encouragement to performing businesses, the PhD CCI has instituted awards and recognitions for enterprises. The role of the Chamber isn't limited to business. Through its foundations on family welfare and rural development, the Chamber executes its social responsibility. And as the COVID-19 pandemic affected the country, PhD CCI took innovative measures to carry on functioning post-lockdown. It was one of the first chambers to go online with prominent webinars. During Unlock 1, it adopted foolproof safety measures in its office, with Arogya Setu app being made a must for entry into the PhD CCI office. And member organizations ensured safety measures in their factories. PhD CCI also ran awareness campaigns on COVID safety and lent its support to ground-level efforts.
Members of the PhD Chamber once again rose to the challenge in contributing over 525 crores towards the PM CARES Fund. Our two foundations, the Family Rural Development Foundation, Family Welfare Foundation, contributed to the lakhs of underserved food packets, sanitizers and masks and personal protective equipment. I wish to thank our managing committee members, patron members, star members and special invitees to the managing committee for their guidance and support.
PhD CCI is a consistent partner in India's growth story. It is the symbol of India's consistent effort to grow as an economic powerhouse. For PhD CCI, it was, is and always shall be India first.
If you can kindly, sir, come on the dais. Since we are starting the program sharp at 5, Chairman Mr. Mishra, if you can kindly join, and Mr. Peter, Resident Representative to India CAS. Sir, if you can also join on the dais, please. Sorry. A very good evening to each one of you, and we are here today for this World Consumer Rights Day 2021. And as you all are aware that today's, in fact, theme is tackling plastics pollution. So we have water, Chairman, in the glass or, not even a single plastics we are using. And we are committed that we should not be promoting single use of plastics in our PhD house. He might be there, yes, but virtually. I'm in touch with his office. Mr. President. I request everybody, those who are standing outside, please call them inside. Yes, kindly be seated. Afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again. A very warm welcome to all of you for our World Consumers Rights Day 2021. This year, the theme is tackling plastics pollution. I'll request our President, Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, to kindly join on the dais, please, sir. We are awaiting the Secretary, Government of India, Ms. Leena Nandanji. She would be joining very soon for this inaugural session. She is the Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. And she is
present in virtual form.
Great. Thank you very much, ma'am. Welcome. Welcome for this wonderful session on this World Consumers Rights Day. And we are starting it formally with the permission of the President. May I request everyone to kindly stand for the national anthem before we start.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you. The consumer movement marks 15th March with World Consumer Rights Day every year as methods for raising worldwide mindfulness about shopper rights and needs. Commending the day is an opportunity to request the privileges of all buyers are regarded and ensured, and to challenge market misuse and social shameful acts which subvert those rights. So World Consumer Day was inspired by President John F. Kennedy, and it's a special message to the US Congress on 15th March 1962. So ladies and gentlemen, we also welcome all our participants, those who have joined us virtually today for this event, and to formally welcome our distinguished guests, those who are here physically with the PhD Chambers Green Initiative for Prosperity. May I request our President, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, to kindly welcome Mr. Peter, Resident Representative to India, CAS. And Mr. President, on your behalf, Mr. President, on your behalf, as well as also on behalf of PhD-CCI, we welcome Ms. Leena Nandan, IAS Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, virtually. A very big round of applause for Ms. Leena Nandanji, who have connected with us virtually. I would now request all the dignitaries on the dais to kindly light the lamp, please. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request our President, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, to please deliver the presidential address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Leena Nandan, IAS, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs and Food Distribution and Public Distribution, Government of India. Dr. Shobhit Jain, Executive Director, Compliance Strategy, FSSAI. Mr. Satyendra Kumar, Director, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. Professor Dr. N.C. Saha, former Director, Indian Institute of Packaging and Chairman, Foundation of Innovative Packaging and Sustainability. Mr. Peter Rimmel, the resident representative to India of Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, who has so very kindly agreed to grace the occasion personally, physically. We really appreciate that, sir. Mr. Jeevraj Pillai, Joint Director, Packaging and New Product, UFlex. Mr. Karthik Kamal Kumar, Director, Electra Coco Tava Weld Private Limited. Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra, the Chairman of Consumer Affairs Committee of the PhD Chamber. Mr. Ram Podar, the Co-Chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee. Former Presidents of the PhD Chamber, members of the Managing Committee, some of whom I can see here. It's really a privilege to acknowledge. Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, the Secretary General of PhD Chamber. Yogesh Srivastav, Assistant Secretary General, sponsors of the program. Delegates from the industry, friends from the media, good evening to you all. I am very pleased to welcome Ms. Leena Nandan, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs. Madam, your generous consent to attend this celebration today indeed highlights your keen interest towards the elimination of plastic pollution and making the country plastic-free. I extend my heartfelt thanks to her for sparing her valuable time today for us. I'm also happy to share that Mr. Shyam Jaju, Chairperson of the Global Summit COVID-19, shall be joining us shortly, and he shall also be giving us a presentation today. I am also very pleased to welcome Mr. Peter Lemel, Resident Representative to India of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, who will be sharing with us the German and European perspective on the theme. It is an opportunity for all of us present here to get insights on developments and achievements of Germany on plastic waste management. I think Germany is the country which has led the technological advances in the world by a huge margin on so many fronts. And this is also one front in which Germany has excelled, and it should be a good opportunity for us to have Mr. Lemel share the German perspective on this subject. I also welcome our sponsors and supporters, Uflex Limited, Electra Coco Taba Weld Private Limited, and of course the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Let me at the outset extend a very warm welcome to you all to this hybrid celebration of the World Consumer Rights Day 2021. I will also take a moment to introduce our chamber to the attendees. The PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or the PSD CCI, is a proactive and a dynamic apex organization that is now present pan-India and is working as a catalyst for the promotion of Indian industry, trade, and entrepreneurship. The Chamber stands in complete solidarity with the government and pledges to extend its wholehearted support in whatever means required and possible to tide over the setbacks suffered in the past few quarters due to the COVID pandemic. The Chamber works in several verticals, each headed by an industry stalwart. We have very strong committees for agriculture, food processing, health, Ayush, consumer affairs, amongst others. In fact, we have 80 committees, out of which 60 are sectoral committees and 20 are state chapters and union territory chapters. So as a consequence, we try and cover the whole gamut of issues and subjects that are facing the trade and industry and the economy in our nation. And we do hope to contribute to the best of our ability with the help of our expert committees and the experts who head these committees. The object of the Committee for Consumer Affairs and Public Health is to highlight the importance of the consumer movement and the need to make every consumer more aware of their rights and responsibilities on one hand, and also protect the industry and their business on the other hand. The World Consumer Rights Day was inspired by President John F. Kennedy of the United States of America, who sent a special message to the US Congress on the 15th of March 1962, in which he formally addressed the issue of consumer rights. He was the first world leader to do so. The consumer movement first marked that date in 1983 and now uses that day every year to mobilize action on important issues and campaigns. This year, the theme promoted is Tackle Plastic Pollution. Our ecosystem suffers from single-use plastic as these continue to fill our oceans. Where consumers are increasingly concerned about plastic pollution, they are already taking action. As a global consumer movement, we play a critical role in tackling plastic pollution and promoting sustainable consumption. The Indian example is in one way quite interesting, which probably is not seen in most other countries, and that is the amount of recyclable plastics that so-called rack pickers collect and deposit with the reprocessing companies. A lot of our waste which would have otherwise further polluted the environment. I'm not saying that it is less polluted. It is in fact very alarmingly polluted still, but a good part is still being rescued by this informal economy of the rack pickers, who are able to rescue at least some good part of the plastics that we see being thrown about as waste in our environment. Our Honorable Prime Minister has announced Atmanirbhar Bharat, Vocal for Local. The government is promoting, supporting and handholding startups to come into the front and work for biodegradable products. Now that is something which is the need of the day, that even if it is left out into the environment, the plastic should be biodegradable, and that would be the best alternative solution to the plastic. There are startups who are working in very innovative manner for the plastic waste management. The government, of course, encourages all players, whether small or large, and is always extending a helping hand, which we really appreciate. There are several success stories on how Make in India products and services are known globally. We must make our Indian standards country-specific, but also adopt and promote more sustainable practices always taught to us by our ancestors and our traditional culture, which we need to harmonize globally to be made acceptable and in demand by the consumers. So I think now it's time for a generalist like me to retire in favor of the experts who are going to talk on the subject and illuminate us today. So I really look forward to today's discussions, and we hope that we'll do something positive in terms of reaching some good conclusions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for your wonderful initial remarks. And ladies and gentlemen, now it's my proud privilege to call upon Professor Bijon Mishra. He is the chairman of Consumer Affairs Committee, PHDCCI, to set the theme for today's discussion. Over to you, Professor Mishra.
Good evening and namaskar. Thank you, Yogesh, for the introduction and kind words. Our most honorable guest of honor, Srimati Reena Nandan, who is Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Our Honorable President, Sanjay ji, our most beloved friend who's come from overseas but working in India, and I'm sure he will share his experiences about India with us, while I'll share my experiences about Germany. So Peter Rummeley, good to be having you here. I also feel very proud that our Secretary General, who has always been a motivating force, Saurabh, is with us, the whole team of PhD Chamber of Commerce, my friends who are live streamed, and all my friends who are physically present, taking all the courage to come physically. Thank you for coming and making this a great event on the occasion of the World Consumer Rights Day 2020. Friends, first I must tell you that I feel very indebted to PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry to induct a non-commercial person, a person who talks on public health and public causes, to head one of their committees and be part of their managing committee as an honorary member. I feel very proud, because that's what demonstrates that how you can build a trust between the two groups of consumer organizations and the industry to work together on a common cause, which is in the benefit of the consumer. So I must put on record that this is the first Chamber of Commerce which took the courage to have a committee on consumer affairs. And I wish to congratulate the top leadership of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry to take that initiative. Let's give them a big applause. Having said that, what's been our agenda as part of this committee? The agenda is very simple, and this is what I'm going to speak in today's theme in terms of the World Consumer Rights Day. The theme is tackling plastic pollution. Now, we all knew at one point of time that plastic is not good for environment. And I still recollect very fondly when I was a child, you know, my parents or me, whenever we will go for shopping, we'll always take a bag with us. Whether it's a cotton bag, whether it's a jute bag, but we will take a bag and we'll shop and come back. We'll never take a plastic bag, or we've never seen one plastic bag. But then on the garb of convenience to the consumer, the plastic got born. And then when it got born, we never realized that it can be fatal, it can be harmful, it can cause a lot of damages. And we changed our habit from carrying cotton bags to accepting plastic bags when we went for shopping. And mind you, we used to get it free. Nothing is free. You never get anything free. It's all added to the cost. And the consumer pays for it. And we thought it was free, and we would always ask for more bags to be taken home empty, to be used at home, or to be used at a later time. And the demand kept increasing for plastic. But we never realized that what our ancestors taught us, or what our culture taught us, to use utensils, to use spoons, to use, metal vessels for cooking, we gave it up. Why? Because we felt, oh, I can use this plate, which is disposable. I can use this spoon, which is disposable. It's very convenient. You use it and throw it away. You don't have to wash your plates. So we went into a zone where we were prepared to pay for the pollution. And then came the serious issue that how does one manage this pollution? And then we as consumer groups started talking about the polluters pay principle. And this is where I will come to Peter. When I went for the first time overseas as a part of a delegation of consumer groups of India, the first country we visited was Germany. And thanks to FNST for supporting us for going there. And I'm so happy that CAS has agreed to join PhD Chamber of Commerce on today's very important day, the World Consumer Rights Day, to take a common objective forward in a partnership mode. I congratulate you, sir, for taking this initiative. What did I see in Germany when I went? I was taught about something called, and this was way back in 1993. I was taught that there is something called Blue Angel. Sir, I can see you nodding your head. The Blue Angel, for the people who don't know, when I went for the first time, what did I see? I saw packets which had that logo, which meant that you are buying a product which is packed by recycled products. And what did it show? I asked my friends in the industry in Germany, I asked the consumer groups in Germany. They said, we are prepared to pay a higher price if I see that logo. All over the world, the studies have revealed that consumers are prepared to pay a higher price if you assure them a quality. If you assure them that you will deliver what you are promising, the consumers will be more than willing to pay for value for money in terms of a higher price. It's a myth that the industry carries, that quality is expensive, it adds to the cost. It's a myth. Actually, quality reduces the cost of a product. It makes it competitive. It makes it globally acceptable. Today, in PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as the chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, I would like to assure all the listeners, all the people who are with us, including our honorable chief guest, Srimati Leena Nandanji, that PhD will lead the path to build awareness in the country, within especially the small and medium scale, which is represented by PhD Chamber of Commerce, to promote and educate people about the value of quality. It will promote consumer education and awareness in terms of differentiating between a good product and a substandard product. It will create awareness about zero plastic. It will create awareness to the consumers that if you promote zero plastic, you are safe, environment is safe, and you are not paying any extra price for it, you are getting a product which is very competitive. Friends, again, let me bring you back fondly of my memories to my first visit overseas to Germany. What did I learn there? I learned that the consumer organizations have to work hand in hand with the industry associations, has to work together with the government. All consumer organizations in Germany are funded by the government, fully funded. And they are year after year evaluated, and their budget is increased based on their performance. Like the industry, our Honorable Prime Minister has started a new concept called performance linked incentive. We are going to now tell the Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, the performance linked incentives should be given to the small and medium scale who would practice zero plastic. We'll tell the Honorable Prime Minister that you must ensure that the people who are pro-consumer, who are proactively practicing good ethical practices, who are ensuring that the complaints of consumers are resolved right at their level and not allowing it to get escalated on litigation. They are the ones who needs to be recognized in India. And I can assure you, and Mr. President, I can assure you, that if we do this in India, those small scale and medium scale will tomorrow become global brands. They will become global brands, and we have several success stories with whom I interact almost on a daily basis. And they confess to me that if we do not practice good practices like good quality and assuring consumers of good after-sales service and good quality products, they couldn't have. Those Indian companies couldn't have become global. And I have a direct experience dealing with the pharma companies, especially the small and medium scale. Today, globally, generic Indian medicine, or as the Prime Minister is promoting, which is known as the Jan Aushadhi, it is maximum in demand in all over the world. Why? Because the Indian consumers recognized and endorsed that our generic medicine is as good a quality as any other medicine. You have to be transparent. You have to make yourself accountable. And in today's theme of the World Consumer Rights Day, tackling plastic pollution will emerge from yourself. It will not be government. Everything government doesn't do. Please remember this. Don't expect that everything government will do. No, sorry. Government is there to only facilitate you to ensure that the tax money which you are paying is well utilized, effectively utilized, efficiently utilized for your purpose. Friends, I am sure the beginning has started. In today's World Consumer Rights Day, it's a great day to start this campaign, like our Jago Grahak Jago campaign. When we started it in 2005 and 2006, I still fondly recollect. We were all trying to think where the money is going to come from. And then we got the answer, the money is never an issue or never a constraint in terms of resource. Money is always available. You need good ideas. You need great, passionate people. You need committed people. You need citizens who are entrepreneurs. You need citizens who can show the path. You need good bureaucrats. You need good politicians. Cutting across all political lines, in my 35 years of career in the consumer movement, I've come across several good political people cutting across political lines. Similarly, among bureaucrats, I have retired bureaucrats on the board of my organization who were secretaries to the government of India. Why? Because they also felt that after their retirement, they must work for the community. Friends, I feel very privileged that I got this opportunity. I feel very proud that I got this opportunity on a great day, that is the World Consumer Rights Day. I send my greetings to everyone who is listening, live stream, in person, or virtually. That today is a great day. It's a one step forward to educate consumers in terms of environment, in terms of their health and safety. I would end by saying health and safety of the citizens is paramount. It should always prevail over profit or commercial interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for your inspiring speech and your dedication to the cause of consumer rights. And we are grateful that the committee is doing wonderful under your able leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, before I request the Honorable Guest of Honor, Ms. Leena Ji, to speak, we have with us today Mr. Peter Emil. He is the resident representative to India, CAS. May I request Peter to kindly come forward and then give your valuable remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Dr. Leela Nandan, President Sanjay Agarwal, Professor Bijon Kumar Misra, and of course, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal. I always have problems with the name, but I never have problems recognizing the person. So, at the outset, I want to share that I'm extremely delighted to be here because this is the first bricks and mortar digital event, or call it a hybrid event, that we are conducting after almost a year in Delhi. And fittingly, it's in partnership with the PhD CCI, with whom we have a history of more than 3 decades cooperation. You all know about the PhD CCI for the good work that it does, but let me take the opportunity to talk about a little bit of Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I think you have the logo here, which I'm privileged to represent here in the national capital of India, nation that is leapfrogging into the future under stewardship of a very dynamic government. So the Konrad Adenauer Foundation is one of the German political foundations. We are in India now since 53 years, and Professor Misra already met some other political foundations, so there are several ones. It's a unique system you don't find anywhere in the world. Let's say each political party has an affiliated political foundation, what is near to it, but independent. In our case, it's related. Konrad Adenauer was the first German chancellor of the CDU, and that makes Angela Merkel the chancellor being in our board. And we are working with many institutions in India. Since long, we always try to have a sustainable partnership, and 30 years of partnership, I think, speak for some sustainability. What we need also in addressing environmental issues. So let me come to the topic of this very important event, which is tackling plastic pollution to commemorate the World's Consumers' Rights Day. Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman famously said, "The only corporate social responsibility a company has is to maximize its profits." Well, when such an approach drives much of the capitalist world's business, the natural outcome is a greed-driven consumerist society that is categorized by the depletion of natural resources, pollution, and environmental degradation. That has led to humanity experiencing climate tipping points which may be irreversibly damage the path of civilization as we know it. That may damage it, the pandemic will not. That will be overcome after some time. Remember this formulation I used, was that it leads to a greed-driven consumer society, because I will come back to that at the end of my remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, usage of plastics has had a massive role to play in this degradation of environment. and various ecological systems, including that of marine ecosystem. Just to give you an indicative idea of the immensity of the issue, allow me to give you some statistics from a report published by Hannah Ritchie and Max Rosa in 2018, so pretty recent. If you go back into history of plastic, it has one too. The first synthetic plastic that was called bakelite was produced in 1907, making the beginning of the global plastics industry. However, rapid growth in global plastic production was not realized until the 1950s. 1950, the world produced only 2 million tons per year. Since then, the annual production has increased nearly 200-fold, reaching 381 billion tons in 2015. How much plastic has the world produced cumulatively? By 2015, the world has produced 7.8 billion tons of plastic. To visualize it and to break down to current persons living, each of us is carrying a burden of about 1 ton of produced plastic. Now imagine you would have to carry that physically into how that would look like, just to realize a little bit what is behind when we say there's too much plastic. So, of this 5,800 million tons of primary plastic, what is no longer in use, only 9% has been recycled since the 1950s. And one of the major sources is packaging. It was the dominant component of primary plastics, with 42% share entering the use phase. And here I would now like to come back to outline the German, as announced by extension, the European efforts to deal with the issues of plastic waste. As Professor Misra said, he shares his German experience. I will also add some Indian experience then, if you allow me. Now, if I go back and tell you how is it done in Germany, I'm not having the intention to say you have to copy it or whatever. It may not be the best approach. All I try to do is to explain you how we are trying to tackle that problem. Some of the things you may fit, some may not, but it's just more reporting from there. There is a GIZ report, German International Corporation, and they came to the conclusion that Germany has a relatively high per capita waste generation. That was like some 600-something kilos per year in 2017 to an average of 486 in the European Union. But again, European Union, you have to see Germany is a highly industrialized country. Many member states of the European Union are still rather agricultural ones, so that may make a different average. Our waste management goals follow a circular economy idea. So our framework is a circular one, focusing on recycling, reuse, and reduction of waste, as well as aiming at cutting environmental pollution from waste management operations. And that is all regulated in a so-called Circular Economy Act, where we have set recovery rates that have become mandatory last year. I'm not even sure if they managed with the COVID crisis to follow all, but at least the goals are there. And one of the major focus points of the current policies is plastic waste, and in particular single-use plastics should simply be reduced. In 2018, our Minister of Environment presented 5 measures, and I will repeat them. The 5 measures to achieve those goals. And this plan combines obligatory and voluntary measures and will be carried out with a promotional campaign, what is called No to Disposal Plastic Society. And under the motto, that fits anywhere, less is better. The key elements of this strategy I just noticed quickly. The proposal was number 1, avoiding unnecessary products and packaging. The minister, named Schulze, gave the example of a banana, which comes with its own biodegradable packaging, namely a banana skin. So that will have to suffice in future. Now let me make some, Indian experience remarks. If I go and buy my fruit and vegetable on a local market, where I prefer to go, then I take a large bag, the stuff is being packed in whatever. If I go to a supermarket, each single cucumber, each single zucchini, whatever is wrapped into plastic. And that one will be put in another plastic bag and then put on the scale. So there is, I think, some potential of shortening plastic packaging waste. So my experience that it applies to many other things, and I ask myself, why do we have to pack things 3 or 4 times sometimes, especially fruit what already have, like bananas, a natural skin. Second point is making the packaging and other products more environmentally friendly. So we have to pack things, but how can we do it better? And companies will be encouraged to do this via new licensing rules with less environmentally friendly packaging, incurring larger fees. So that is also an instrument how you can steer that. Third, more recycling. That also needs more recycling stations. So the government aims to increase its plastic recycling target, what is currently 36% of total waste, to 63% by 2022, what is not so far ahead. Fourth is preventing plastics from getting into organic waste. People will be encouraged to take more care when separating their trash, common practice for years in Germany. This is, again, my experience here. It's not happening here, at least not in the household. In Germany, the households are asked to separate the trash into what is recyclable, into bio and whatever. It's done in India too by different dwellers or whatever, maybe even more careful. And in Germany, what the government wants to increase is that, let me say, the quality of separating is done better, because they figured out that despite this separation things, 50% of the bio-waste has 50% of old glass bottles and vice versa. So that makes it more difficult. So the discipline is not that high. And finally, of course, international efforts to limit plastic waste at sea. So their increased German donations are forcing to this end, specifically to clean up the 10 rivers that are thought to account for 90% of plastic waste in the world seas, and the Ganga is one of them. So there's a large German project supporting the rejuvenation of the project with different measures. I will not go into details, but it's one part of that one. And of course, you have these tougher things. Germany will ban the sale of single-use plastic, straws, cutlery, cotton buds, food containers, and so on, aligning with an EU directive intended to reduce plastic waste. It was also announced that, and it started last year, plastic carry bags nationwide are being banned, and then we are back to what you presented from your youth. Let's go back to cotton bags or things to transport things. Now, I do not want to complicate issues further, but German policies are interwoven with European legal framework, because Germany is a member state of the European Union, so it's widely influenced by the EU laws and by the EU policies. India has experience with that on a union level, on a state level, so it's a little bit similar, except that we have another layer above. So the first layer is the European laws. There is a waste management, what is governed by a number of European regulations and directives. The basis of it is the European legal framework, the Waste Framework Directive. Then it's broken down to federal law. The Circular Economy Act is currently Germany's main waste management statute, setting goals, defining principles of waste management, and as well taking into consideration fundamentals set out in the Waste Framework Directive. Then you go down to the state level, and the German states have their own differentiated laws how to regulate the waste management in the state. And finally, and that I think is one of the most important levels, where the waste is created or is showing up, it's on the municipal level. So municipal waste depots law deals with further specification of implementation related matters, and it takes place in the municipal level as municipalities define how public infrastructure will be used, what system of waste, segregation and collection will be practically applied. Some basic principles of our waste management system. There is a waste hierarchy principle That means first waste prevention, second reuse, third recycling, recovery, and if all of that cannot work, finally disposal. And what you mentioned already, Professor Misal, the polluter pays principle is applied. Those generating waste also pay for its treatment. This is needed in order to create necessary investments and incentivize environmentally friendly behavior. The precautionary principle, the government has the duty to intervene in order to prevent possible damage to the environment and human health. Finally, proximity principle, that means the waste should be treated and disposed of as close as possible. Not, we hear always of this international garbage transports to developing countries and whatever. Principle must be treated there as close as possible to the source, to avoid unnecessary transportation as well as associated environmental pollution and risks. And finally, there is a subsidiary principle. Who is doing the job depends on who is doing it best. Cost benefit is one element, efficiency, and they're often determined by proximity to waste generation and treatment. So these are some, let me say, regulatory framework and some ideas behind how we try to tackle the issue. And ladies and gentlemen, as the world wrestles with the post-pandemic future, it is clear that the world order cannot follow a business as usual approach. More and more economies are beginning to embrace a closed or circular economy model that aims to end the throwaway culture plaguing society. To make this a reality, the very ideas of growth and consumption need to be challenged. And it needs to start at the level of consumers, because with rights also come duties, and there is, for example, no right to have everything wrapped in plastic as a consumer right, I think. So the duties may be in the foreground in that. So each consuming individual was to make up one's mind to get rid of plastic pollution, and there is no reason that we cannot deal with this challenge. So it needs also a change of mindset, but that can be done slowly, and you have a principle in India what is applied to many things. It can be applied here also. Boon boon se sagar banta hai. No reason why it shouldn't work here. So I'd like to conclude, and I would like to quote the father of the nation, Sri Mahatma Gandhi. At the beginning I said, if we have this, let me say, purely profit-driven approach, a greed-driven consumerist society, that will lead maybe to the end of the world. And Sri Mahatma Gandhi said simply, there is sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not for man's greed. So humanity needs to move away from consuming in excess and shift to consuming only that what is necessary to exist. Before I yield the floor, I'd like to thank our partner, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for conceptualizing and co-organizing today's event. I'd like to further express my gratitude to all the speakers who are due to address the session. And I would also like to thank all the participants who came here physically or virtually for their interest in this very topical seminar. For you, ladies and gentlemen, are not only the ultimate stakeholders, but also the flag bearers of achieving sustainable development in this marvelous country. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks and sharing your experiences of global as well as in India. Thank you, sir, once again for your special remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, since we have paucity of time, now I would like to request Ms. Leena Nandan, IAS Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. She has joined us virtually to kindly give her special address. Over to you, Leena ji.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Agarwal and his colleagues from the PhD Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Peter Rimmel, Professor Bijon Mishra, colleagues from the Government of India, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. This discussion on tackling plastic pollution is the theme of the World Consumers Day, but it could not have come at a more appropriate time. But India itself is looking to take a great leap forward in terms of really regenerating our environment and revisiting the way we do our daily lives, we do our businesses. Plastic as a danger to the environment, as a danger to the way we conduct our daily lives is something that we've all woken up to. But what is the plan? How do we take forward these ideas and principles? What is the responsibility that we enjoin upon ourselves individually, in our organizations, in our enterprises and industries, in our government departments as policymakers, is something that we would like to see as an outcome of today's deliberations. I would also like to say here that it is most appropriate that the PhD chamber, which stands for Progress, Harmony and Development, is actually discussing and debating very seriously how to take forward these various measures for tackling the menace of plastic. Because this is nothing but the need for harmony that is being kick-started through the debate. The harmony between the need to build our businesses, to grow as enterprises, our manufacturing bases, our businesses. But how do we maintain the harmony with the environment? How do we, in all honesty and with all our conscience intact, tell ourselves that we could have, that there was nothing more that we needed to do in terms of the ecosystem we have put into place for our production and for our business growth? That is something that we have to ask ourselves. But let not the discussion stop with what the industry has to do or not to do. The discussion has to go forward into the duties of the consumers. From the Department of Consumers, I can say that we constantly think and we try and act in ways that will go to support the consumer rights, safeguard their interests. But today's topic is about the duties and obligations of the consumers. How do we make ourselves aware? How do we make consumers as a group, as a massive target group out there aware that there has to be more than just looking for the affordability and quality of the product? It has to be something which is linked with our commitment to make our choices environmentally sustainable. And therefore, I really welcomed the examples that were given by Professor Mishra and by Peter Rimmel about how Germany has taken the lead and how it has made this the forefront of whatever is being done in terms of the businesses and the products. That the products themselves, the way they are packed, the material in which it is packed, the layers in which this packaging happens, and the ways that the consumers are procuring and transacting these products and bringing them home. Everywhere, in whatever way these actions are taking place, the environmental cost is there upfront. And there, I think, India has to make a beginning. We have to constantly innovate. We have to think about what further R&D can be done in terms of the compostable plastics. And here I would like to mention that the BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards, has come out with the standards, with the quality that is required for different types of packaging material. What is degradable? What is compostable? What is non-plastic material? The various types and classifications are there. But how much is the industry using this kind of classification? How much is the industry committed to making the best of these standards and making sure that it is these kinds of qualities that are being brought into the products, into the packaging and the delivery of the products? So the responsibilities and the questions we ask ourselves have to begin with the quality of the packaging material, have to begin with the standards that have come forward, and the industry must demand more from BIS. It must ask for more qualities to be developed, for more consultation with the various technical committees, the expert groups, so that various classifications can be devised in terms of the different products and in terms of the packaging of these products. And then having done that, we have to work together with organizations like the PhD Chamber, with consumer organizations, and I think Professor Mishra would be able to take forward various ideas and initiatives on how to make the consumers more aware, how to make the consumers take informed choices and be prepared to pay more, because the quality of the product is as important as the quality of the packaging. It is as important as the commitment that the packaging is not going to contribute to further environmental degradation. So the consumer rights and consumer duties and obligations now have to acquire a new dimension. And that is something which I do think should be the outcome of today's discussions and deliberations. When we talk about quality and standards, then it has to encompass the whole range of industries. And that is why the dialogue with the MSMEs is something which is very important, because we for so long and for only too long have been thinking that if we compromise on the quality, perhaps the affordability of our product is going to be that much more, and therefore perhaps we would be able to reach larger number of consumers simply because we have an edge over our competitors. But now is the time when we forget about competition and we talk about co-opetition, where we co-opt everybody in this fight to retain our cutting edge in terms of being environmentally meaningful. So the consumer has to demand it, and the producer, the manufacturer has to deliver it. And as a nation, as a society, we all have to talk about the way we dispose of the products. We dispose of it, the way it is collected, it is segregated, it is recycled. That has to be another part of the ecosystem. So each of us have to find our own ways, and we have to talk about the entire cycle, that is the producer, the consumer, and the collector of the waste and the recycler. We all have to be part of the virtuous circle. Otherwise, we are going to be talking and walking and working in silos. We will never be able to break through these different walls that keep us walking only in single-dimensional ways, thinking only in single-dimensional ways, as though there is only one solution that we are working towards, which does not encompass everything that everybody else is doing. Unless and until we break out of that way of thinking, and unless our actions are geared towards reaching out and gathering all our efforts together into one composite whole, I think we would not have made much headway in achieving the objective of what we are talking about today, tackling the menace of plastic pollution. So ladies and gentlemen, today is the most appropriate day because it is the World Consumer Day, but consumer rights and consumer obligations both have to go hand in hand. And today is the fittest day for us to talk about how as consumers we can make ourselves and each other aware of what is needed from our point of view. We have to demand quality of the product, we have to demand quality in the packaging, and we have to make informed choices. How do we do it? What is the action plan? What are the responsibilities? What can government do as policymaker? I think these are the deliberations which I would hope would be the outcome of today's conference. And I'm very glad and I'm very grateful to all of you for having invited me here today. I have attended several conferences in the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry in my earlier roles in the various departments and ministries that I have been. But today is a unique day where this is a hybrid event. Some of us are present there virtually, some of us are present physically, but the ideas can break these barriers and the ideas can come across and coalesce into a very meaningful set of deliberations and recommendations. So thank you once again. I think some very thought-provoking ideas have been set forth in the opening remarks of Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, Professor Bejon Mishra, and Mr. Peter Remele. And I hope the ensuing technical sessions will take forward these ideas and deliberations and put them together into some very specific, concrete, actionable points which make each of us responsible and aware and committed towards what we have to do to tackle the menace of plastic pollution. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish all of you very fruitful and meaningful deliberations. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks. And as you said, that the consumer rights and the obligation go hand in hand. We assure you on behalf of PHDCCI that we would certainly be making a detailed report under the leadership of Professor Mishra, and then we would be submitting it to you, the future course of action of the committee. And before I request Mr. Sanyal to give the formal vote of thanks for this session, may I request Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, President PHDCCI, to please present a memento to Mr. Peter, Resident Representative to India, CAS. A very big round of applause. Mr. President, a memento also to Ma'am Leena ji, and I can assure on behalf of PSDCCI that we would be sending the hard memento, to her office. So if you want to say a few words, Sanjay ji, to Madam, you are most welcome.
Madam, this is just a memento, of course, will be reaching your office. So our virtual thanks to you and real thanks to you also for having spared time. We know that you have been a friend of the PhD Chamber and that we are working together today and participating in this event today together gives us a lot of confidence and hope that we'll be able to do something meaningful. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really grateful to you for having joined us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and we will be expecting you soon in our building since the corona is almost over, but we are making sure that all the SOPs, we are taking care of that. And ladies and gentlemen, as we have already told you in the beginning, the Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, he is busy in the Parliament, so his secretary has told me, Mr. Murli, that he may join later. So we will go, for the technical session. But before that, I would request Mr. Saurabh Sanyal to kindly give the formal vote of thanks for this inaugural session. Over to you, Mr. Sanyal.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Leena Nandan, IAS Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Mr. Peter Rimmel, Resident Representative to India, Conrad Adenauer Stiftung. Our President, Sri Sanjay Agarwal, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra, our Chair for the Consumer Affairs PhD Chamber. Former Presidents of the PhD Chamber, members of the Managing Committee. Dr. Yogesh Srivastav, Assistant Secretary General, PhD Chamber. Dr. Ranjit Mehta, the Deputy Secretary General, PhD Chamber. Sponsors of the program, delegates from the industry, friends from the media, and ladies and gentlemen. A very good evening to all, one and all. It is indeed my pleasure to propose a formal vote of thanks to all the esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, and all the virtual participants who are here with us today. We are extremely thankful to Mrs. Leena Nandan, the IAS Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, for gracing the occasion. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Coming on the theme of the event, the consumer is now becoming environment friendly, and so their preference is shifting to look for alternate solutions to the plastic. India cannot be made plastic free overnight. Industries need to have the alternate solution to plastic. Industries have started thinking of alternatives, and now it will happen faster because people want biodegradable stuff. There are several success stories on how Make in India products and services are known globally. We must make our Indian standards country specific, but also adopt and promote more sustainable practices which we need to harmonize globally so that it is acceptable and will be in demand by the consumers. The single-use plastic, as was already brought out by many speakers today, has already been banned by all the government offices in our country. We must ensure to ban all types of plastic carry bags, thermocol, disposable cutlery, discourage the use of artificial banners, flags, flowers, water bottles, plastic folders, and the like. PhD has already made a beginning. You can see the glass bottles on the dais. Recycled plastic is the order of the day. Established economies of the world, as well as emerging economies, supported by India, have stopped single-use plastic. Countries like the UK, Germany, Italy, USA, and Eastern European countries, and even countries in Africa, such as Rwanda and Uganda, have banned the use of single-use plastic. which is to be noted and are very inspirational. So on this International Consumer Affairs Day, let us all take a pledge to ensure use of recycled plastic and shun the single-use plastic to make India plastic-free country. I'm sure each one of you will agree to this. I'm happy to share that PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the only chamber in the country, as was brought out by our chair, that we have this Consumer Affairs and Public Health Committee to promote the MSME sector and the culture of quality and enable them to go global by being an active participant in the global supply chain. The initiative taken today would certainly ensure the right and timely participation from the captains of the industry present here and also virtually. I would like to conclude by again thanking the esteemed panelists, including Mr. Peter Rimmel, resident representative to India, who has come physically and has been in partnership with PhD Chamber. I also thank all our sponsors and supporters, Uflex Limited, Electra, Coco, Tawa, Weld Private Limited, and our esteemed partner, Conroy Adenauer Stiftung, for supporting the event. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Sanyal. Thank you very much for your formal vote of thanks. And ladies and gentlemen, as I have said, there are thousands of people, those who have already joined today virtually, apart from what we have today, more than 150 people over here in this house. Ladies and gentlemen, we would be having the next technical session soon on this. And I would also like to thank my dear friend Pankaj Madan, who is here from CAS, for organizing everything. Thank you, Pankaj ji, for all your efforts. A big round of applause for all the participants today. So we will break for the technical session, President, and I would request you to kindly be here along with our chair. And we are very happy today that Mr. Shyam Jaju, our senior member of the ruling party, he is here, and he is also the chairperson of Global Summit COVID-19. We have with us a big round of applause for Mr. Shyam Jaju ji. Sir, we also have the national spokesperson of the ruling party, BJP, Mr. Mahesh Verma. A big round of applause for Mr. Mahesh Verma, a national spokesperson. We have Ms. Pooja ji. She is the spokesperson of Delhi BJP. A big round of applause for her too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are not having any break. We will just be having the arrangement for our some of our speakers, those who have joined us today physically. They can come and can I request my team to kindly, make the dais. Mr. Jeevraj G. Pillai, Joint President, Packaging and New Product Development, Uflex, if he is here, then please put his name on the dais. Mr. Karthik Kamal, Director, Electro Coco Tawa Weld Private Limited. If he is here, Karthik ji, you can also join on the dais once the dais is set. Then we have Professor N.C. Saha, former Director, Indian Institute of Packaging and Chairman, Foundation for Innovative Packaging and Sustainability. So if he's here, he will join us formally, physically. Else he is very much virtually present over here. Great. And Dr. Shobhit Jain, Executive Director, FSSAI. He is basically in charge of compliance and strategy and training. So he will also be joining us virtually. Okay. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Shyam Jaju, the chairperson of Global Summit COVID-19, a very big program which is scheduled to happen in the month of May 2021 in Vigyan Bhavan. So we are very happy to have you, sir, over here today. And then we will also be learning that how India has progressed as far as and the efforts which the Government of India has done, and how the countries, those who are present here in India, as well as what they have been doing and they have done in their country. That kind of details we will expect from Mr. Shyam Jaju ji, apart from he is going to also present on the day of this Consumer Day. So may I request my team to kindly set the dais today, and then we will invite people one by one. I will request Shyam Jajuji if you can kindly, sir, come on the dais, please. A big round of applause for him. I would request Mr. Karthik if he is around. So please join us on the dais, please. Karthik ji, please have a seat. And I believe the rest of the speakers are joining virtually. Am I right, Sunita ji? Okay. And they are all connected. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I hand over to my dear chairman for moderating this session, I have the proud privilege and I would request our president, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, to kindly welcome with a prosperity plant to Mr. Shyam Jaju, Chairperson, Global Summit COVID-19. A big round of applause, please. I would request Professor Bijon Mishra, the Chairman of Consumer Affairs, PhD CCI, to please present a plan to this young entrepreneur, Mr. Karthik Kamal Kumar, Director, Electra Coco Tawa Well Private Limited, who has put up his product outside the auditorium. A big round of applause for this young man who has really made India proud and making all the efforts to ensure cleanliness in India. So he will also be sharing about his product. So with this note now, I would now hand over to Mr. Professor Mishra, Bijon Mishra ji, who is the chairman of our committee, to kindly moderate this session and take the things forward. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Yogesh ji. Without taking away much time, I would straight away go to our panel members. We've got a very esteemed group of people. You just heard that they're all coming from the various dimensions in terms of the business and also philanthropy. So I would first call upon Mr. Jivaraj Pillai, who is the Joint President, Packaging and New Product Development, UFEX Limited, to kindly share his views in terms of how you think, as the guest of honor in the inaugural session mentioned, Leena ji, that how we should move forward and what are those ideas which you can share with us in terms of moving forward to make India a very friendly country in terms of going towards zero plastic. So I would request Jivaraj Pillai ji to kindly go ahead. The mic is yours to address us.
Good evening, Professor Mishra. Good evening, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal. Good evening, everyone on the dais. Good evening to all the fellow participants, dignitaries, both virtually as well as physically. First of all, I would like to thank PhD Chamber of Commerce for providing me the opportunity to make a presentation on the plastic pollution. It's an important issue, and I'm grateful for having this opportunity and making a presentation on you. Without taking much time, I would like to straight away go on to the presentation. If the admin can kindly share the sharing rights, please.
Thomas, may I request you to kindly give the sharing rights, please, for this PPT. Yeah.
Hope everyone can see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So,
yes, sir, we can see.
Yeah. So today we'll be talking about tackling multi-layer flexible packaging, post-consumer waste pollution. As we all know, this is why we are meeting today. The presentation is prepared by an organization by the name of MLP FST. This is a multi-layer plastic film sanitation trust, a consortium of flexible packaging manufacturers. MLP FST understands its responsibility towards the environment and has done a lot of study in India as well as abroad on what are the best practices adopted by other countries to solve this menace. MLP FST has finally come to a conclusion that for a country like India, an automatic MSW sorting and recycling plant is the best answer in addition to biodegradation technology. So in about less than 10 minutes or so, we will see what this means. Let us see what the problem is today. So this is the problem today. You find plastic packaging garbage everywhere. This is the issue across the country. Now, what is causing this? These are the flexible packaging material which are causing this. The flexible packaging material itself is not bad, but the way we dispose it off, the way we litter after its intended service life is over is the main issue. If the plastic packaging is very important for an economy, a country like India, the plastic packaging industry supports something like $500 billion to $1 trillion economy. It supports the pharmaceutical industry, it supports the consumer durable industry, it supports the chemicals and fertilizers, and more importantly, it supports the agro industry. Without plastic packaging, we would not be able to take the produce, the farm produce, the agro produce deep down the country to every nook and corner. And if we don't do that, then this will be the result. There will be too much of food surplus because India is a very diverse country geographically. A potato produced in Punjab cannot reach Kerala and vice versa. So packaging is extremely important. How do we tackle this? We have devised this solution on 3 pillars. First is lighter packaging, how to deal with collected waste and how to deal with uncollected waste. Let us first see what do we mean by lighter packaging.
Do you know that plastic packaging offers more sustainable benefits when compared to glass, aluminium or paper? Manufacturing and transportation of flexible packaging saves a lot more energy, water and other resources when compared to other packaging materials. Flexible packaging keeps your food safe from bacteria and other harmful substances and helps in keeping your food fresh for a longer period of time. Multi-layered packaging material is 100% recyclable. Recycled multi-layered plastic packaging is used to manufacture a wide variety of products like dustbins, road dividers, buckets, pipes, pots, etc. Multi-layered packaging is good for mankind.
So this is just to show that removing flexible packaging from our environment is important and not banning the multi-layer packaging because it supports our economy and it's a part of the growing economy. So we need to use more and more flexible packaging for helping the economy grow and try and address the issue of waste. The way we produce the waste, the way we litter it, and the way we dispose it off needs to be addressed more than the packaging chemistry itself. The second second pillar is the collected waste. What do we do with the collected waste? So the issue today is that and globally there are best practices where there is a source segregation of all types of packaging material, be it organic, glass, plastic, e-waste, metal, paper. But in India, there is a challenge. What we do is we mix all the food and packaging at the source itself. So we are not able to segregate it. The rag pickers are not able to collect the waste because they have to walk about 3,000 feet and wait 400 times to collect 1 kg of plastic. So economically, it is not viable for us to collect, pick up the waste. If you see the video, there are thousands and thousands of rag pickers engaged in this activity. So this is not the way to collect, the plastic waste. The better way of collecting is through an automatic system. Now, since we are not able to collect the wastage, only 50% of the collected waste 50% is collected by the municipality and sent to landfill. About 10% is collected and segregated and sent to recycling and incineration. And more than 40% remains uncollected, dumped and littered. So this is the main issue which is forthcoming because of our habits in disposing of the municipal solid waste. If there is a problem, there is a solution. The solution lies in an automatic segregation plant. This is very prevalent in the Western world, also in the China and certain Southeast Asian countries. We'd like to see a short video on how they handle it and how we should also handle our solid waste. So this is a plant where all the municipal solid waste is dumped at a particular site. And this is an automatic segregation plant. It automatically segregates all types of material and leaves only the plastic packaging material for recycling. As you can see, all the plastic is now separated out from the municipal garbage. And it is separated into, divided into separate bins. And from here, the multi-layer plastic packaging waste can be sent out to recycling. If we can handle about 300 cities in the country, initially, the most plastic packaging material which is littered around can be addressed. All the source municipal solid waste collected by the municipality comes to a MSW sorting device for separation. Once the plastic is separated, it goes to a recycling plant. There is a recycling technology available in the country. In the new Atmanirbharta scheme of affairs, we have developed a multi-layer recycling plant which can recycle all the multi-layered plastics which are sorted out and collected. We'll see a small video on how we do this. You can see that the quality of the waste is really bad, so it has to be washed properly. This is coming from the drainages and nalas. And from the landfill sites, it is thoroughly washed. The waste now is very clean. It's thoroughly washed. This is put into the recycling where the waste comes out. The plant is indigenously designed in the area we use for milk. So all the packaging material is part of oil and the washing system is designed in Indian traditions. So the granules come out. From these granules we make molded items. Tens of thousands of materials which we can make from this. These are some of the products which are made in the country. So having addressed the collected waste, so all the municipal solid waste is segregated in a sorting plant. The wastage is the plastic waste is recycled, and you can use this plastic waste, recycle it for making thousands of items. Now, in a country like India, the system for MSW sorting plant may take some time. In the meantime, we need to find a quick fix. So, many countries in the world are not able to collect the waste. The best country which we have seen is Sweden, which collects about 67% of the waste which is littered. In India, it is very less. So we need to address the uncollected waste also. Let us see how we can address the uncollected waste. So we need to biodegrade this material, and the biodegradation has to happen in a dumped, littered condition. Compostable method will not work because for making the plastic compostable, it has still got to be picked up. And picking up and collection is a challenge in the country. So this is a small video which shows how we can address this. So this is a technology which uses plant-based enzymes. These enzymes attract the microbes which biodegrade the material. So scientists have already discovered enzymes, and we have developed a method of embedding this in the plastic material. Yeah, you'll be glad to know that this is the indigenously developed technology. There are no microplastics. And the final slide for on suggestions on how we can address this. Fund municipalities to invest in industrial garbage sorters. Fund it through collecting plastic tax and amortizing it over 30 years like a toll tax model. Operating expenses can be met by selling the recyclates. A globally recognized practice for garbage sorting and recycling. Make biodegradable MLP as mandatory and allow investments for wastage processing under CSR. So if we are able to take this collective action, I'm sure we will be addressing this plastic pollution issue very effectively in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Mr. Pillai. Thank you very much for making us walk through the technology which is available in the country. You feel very nice. Now we have to understand also how do we invest certain amount also to build the consumer awareness. So having said that, I would now call upon Professor Dr. N.C. Shah, former Director, Indian Institute of Packaging and Chairman, Foundation for Innovation, Packaging and Sustainability, to share his knowledge in terms of how do you expect PhD small and medium scale manufacturers to move in a direction which will be win-win for everybody. So, Professor Shah. You'll have to unmute and come in, Professor Shah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. May I request PhD organizer to give me the sharing rights? I have a few slides can share.
Yeah, we are running short of time. If you can make your presentation as short as possible, it will be very kind of you.
Okay, no problem.
Will the back-end team give the sharing rights to Professor Shah? In the meantime, you can start.
I think the sharing is a problem. Sharing is not coming.
So it's always good to depend on your own memory. So go ahead, Professor Shah, just go ahead, extempo, whatever comes in your mind.
Okay, no problem. Sir, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. And I think it's a great pleasure to talk on this occasion called World Consumer Rights Day. And I think the PhD chamber has taken a right decision to organize this webinar. I'll just start with a word called any innovation is a boon and not a curse. And as all of you know that today our topic is called tackling plastic pollution. That's true that today the plastic has become one of the culprit or the victims, and every consumer, even the entire society, we are really thinking about how best we can tackle the plastics. But I take little different view that when we talk to the technocrats or the scientists who have been developing for the last, plastics history is not a very much, it's only 100 years old story. And if you find the plastics have been developed over the last 100 years, and many more different kinds of plastics have been developed. And today, as the chairman, you have told in your opening remarks that today the consumers, the behavior has changed. Consumer has really switched over from the cotton bag to the plastic bag. This is one way, but I am thinking about the packaging because I am from the packaging field. Today, you'd see that any of the packaging product, if you say the consumer product, everything comes on a single plastics, or it's a single-use plastics, whether it's the pouch or the sachet or any product. Now the whole problem comes when you start with the milk pouch, or we start a container, which are coming as a single layer. For example, your milk page, that's not a problem. Our whole problem starts with the multi-layer material, where there is a composite structure and what to do, and that is becoming a big problem. But I believe on the day of the Consumers' Rights Day, we need to understand the polymer technology has done the innovation of the various kinds of polymeric material, and which has got a various advantage. But incidentally, today across the world, there is no other innovation has come which could be an alternative to the plastic material by providing the same kind of properties like mechanical, optical, or various kinds of properties. The plastics provides various kinds of material like lighter, transparent, high barrier, and of course the economical. But at the same time, we find plastics is a wonderful material, but our problem comes about how do you manage the plastic. So here mostly comes on the management issue. There are a lot of statistics which find that plastic packaging, in packaging, almost 55% of packaging material comes from the plastics. So overnight, you cannot really write off the plastic material. The whole packaging industry has to be shut down. So that's the scenario today where we stay. Now what to do? If you look at the statistics, yes, it's a real problem to the society. We need to tackle it. There is a study has been done by the TARI. It says the 14% is only being collected. The 14% post-consumer is collected. 14% is going to the cement industry, and balance 72% which are not yet collected. And out of 72%, 40% it goes for landfill, and the balance 32% which is getting an end of life in the ocean. And that's where the problem coming, the marine pollution. Yes, there is a news also by the United Nations that by 2050, there will be more plastics than the fish. So that's being very alarming for the society and very alarming for all of us. That's why we need to look for what could be the sustainable solution and what could be the sustainable mechanism what we can think to do it. Chairman, you have already mentioned in your speech, and the other Sanjay ji, the president of PhD, has mentioned, in India is a very peculiar, not in India, the entire Asian region, the collection, it becomes only by two ways. Either it is collected by the rag pickers or it is collected by the municipality. Very interestingly, you find the limitation. The rag picker, they do pick up only those material which have got a value addition, which they find there is a resale value, they just pick up. And rest of the thing, they don't pick up, and as a result, it goes to the littering. Municipality, on the other hand, at your home also, you do a segregate. The red bin, green bin, you just segregate it. But the municipality ban comes, it just mixed it up, and it got a mixed waste. So you get a mixed with the wet waste, you got the dry waste. What is our way forward and what is our problem? Today, I believe the whole problem is the bottom line is the collection mechanism. If we are able to do a proper collection, the clean collection mechanism, then we can take it to the sorting and go to the recycling. You can also say about there are three ways, called the 3R concept of the reduce, reuse, and recycling. All of us, we agree that recycling is the best mechanism by which you can do it. But today in the country, there are so many recycled plastics are going on. Are they okay? Can we be acceptable by the FSSI or a BIS standard? Not really. Why? Because the material which are being collected and the recycle, that does not really confirm the standard. So if you really want to have a quality of the recycled material as per your prime material, we need to have a mechanism where you have to collect the clean waste material. And that's become today one of the biggest issues. As a consumer on the tackling plastic issue, I believe that we have a very important thing what we are looking for. We are looking for how best we can go for a biodegradable material, how we can have a compostable material. And I belong to a foundation. From the foundation, in association with the Indo-German Science and Technology Center, and also with the help of UFLEX, we are taking a project where we'll make the material, the polymeric material, from natural cellulosic material with PLA, and that will be a smart packaging application. That material will be not only the biodegradable, it is the compostable, but it will meet the requirement of the consumer. So zero plastics may not be possible at this stage. Yes, we have to live with the plastics, but we need to know how to manage the plastics. So the comments would be on this tackling plastic pollution day. We need to find out a mechanism how best we can really collect the good, clean garbage material, mainly the plastic packaging post-consumer waste, and that only it can go for segregation and recycling, and that's the way we can do what Mr. Pillai was talking. All is possible, but we need to have a clean material. Thank you, sir. That's my comment. If you have any question, I can talk.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Please stay on, because we might have certain questions to ask you. So having said that, you scared me for a while, because I thrive on fish. If fish goes away, then how do I survive? So I'm sure, Mr. Shah, are you also fond of fish?
What is it, sir? Can you repeat?
I said, are you also fond of fish? Because I thrive on fish.
Yeah. I am fond of fish, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if fish goes away, we are finished.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to be very concerned about it.
Yeah. This is the real problem. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we'll move forward now, because you spoke about Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. I'm taking this liberty as a moderator to call in my friend, who is the Executive Director within the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, none other but a great officer within the Food Safety Authority, Dr. Sambit Jain. If you haven't met Sambit, then you would have actually missed out in terms of an officer who is very, very particular in terms of bringing in standards. And I'm sure he will open up something new. He will tell us today in terms of what Food Safety Authority is planning to do based on where you left. So I would call on Dr. Sambit Jain to kindly come in and tell us where Food Safety Authority can play a role to ensure that we move towards, or ensure that we are able to bring in terms of packaging on food products, which would be healthier tomorrow in terms of having less amount of plastics used. Dr. Sambit Jain, the mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, and a very good evening to the esteemed gathering here, all the panelists and the audience, and to all the consumers. Very happy Consumer Day, because before anything else, we all are consumers. So I think it's the day for all of us personally. And to celebrate it, there's no better theme than actually trying to say tackling plastic pollution, which I don't need to introduce the topic. Now everybody is well aware of it, and there have been enough deliberation on it. But thanks to Dr. Saha, I must say, he actually recognized the elephant in the room. Plastic is nothing that we can wish away, because it is both a friend and a foe. Now, I come from food safety, so it is a great friend of food safety. Let me be admitting about it, because if I really want food to transport from one end of the geography to another end, it is a great medium for me to transfer it hygienically, safely. It is a great friend of the consumer in terms of consumer safety. However, the enemy lies in its invisibility. It lasts in the environment, it plugs in back, it harms the environment, the whole ecosystem, and it is the enemy of the environment and of personal health. Now, how to draw the balance and where we from FSSAI come in. FSSAI on the book actually doesn't do anything about plastic reduction because our first mandate is food safety. However, being a responsible regulator, we don't limit ourselves to only a limited mandate, and we do go beyond it. And our role comes from what Mr. Bijon Mishra had said in the first session, that government cannot do anything. But however, we give one role, and that is to nudge and to enable the environment. So our role comes in making enabled environment recycling of plastic. How do we do it?
1 minute, doctor.
Yeah.
There is some kind of an echo. Can I request people to kindly mute their speakers? Except, of course, doctor.
Yeah, I think that will do. So FSSAI has been working along with the business community, the food businesses, the scientific community on this topic, and our main theme is also visible from what we run is a Eat Right campaign, and there are 3 pillars to it, and one of them is sustainability. And sustainability, there's no better example from a sustainable environment that to reduce the imprint of plastic in our daily work. So what we do is we work with the food businesses, trying to nudge them, trying to educate them, trying to push them to use plastic in a manner that leaves a minimal ecological imprint. That could be by many methods. That could be by a recall of their plastic packaging and reusing it if it is possible. If it is a recall and reusing it in another segment, if it is possible, the concept of extended product responsibility is well entrenched world over. But however, how to bring it into practice, we keep interacting with them. We had last year a Swachhta Hi Seva Abhiyan in which a lot of food businesses took voluntary pledges on the theme of sustainable pillar of Eat Right. And we also anchored a food dialogue on food for the planet in December 19. However, 2020 had been a COVID year, and we are all aware that I'm sure very soon we will be seeing the impact of COVID even on this dimension. Plastic pollution, I think, took a hit probably in the pandemic. The efforts, and also because it was a question of not sustainability but survival, but I'm glad that we are back to our rails, talking about it, doing it back. So whatever we have seen a setback, probably we'll be able to overcome it very soon. So as I said, we work with the businesses, and on the standard setting side, though BIS is the standard setting authority, but for the packaging, FSSAI has standards for packaging, and wherever businesses feel, yes, we can come back, and if there is a small tweaking, of course it has to be backed by scientific studies that the standards can be tweaked to allow something on the recycled. We definitely do that. A lot of things are in the work. We have a scientific panel purely on packaging now set up, which continuously works, and Dr. Saha very well knows the work on that front, and tries to further either recycled or alternate means of packaging material. We took out guidelines for bamboo use. Then we allowed drinking water and paper sealed in reusable bottles if used in the hotel. And we have established a big network of scientific institutions. We call it NETSCOFAM. It is the Network of Scientific Cooperation for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition. It has many groups, but one of them is known as SPG, Safer and Sustainable Packaging. So sustainability is now ingrained into our work everywhere. And these network of institutes continuously thrive to generate data, technologies, which could be used in the packaging industry, because we realize that food, unfortunately, is one of the biggest generator of plastic waste. And as acknowledged, it is there. So it cannot be wished away overnight. We need to find sustainable solutions, either to replace it or to at least ensure that it doesn't go into the environment, it is recovered back and plugged in, so that the environmental imprint of that thing is the minimum. So I think that is all largely that I had to say. And of course, we from FSSAI are always open that whenever the industry desires that, yes, they can do something innovative, we stand by that. And if anything on our regulations are issue, we like to work across it, so that, of course, keeping the food safety concerns intact, if they can be enabled, we are always there. And to promote innovative packaging is one of the main themes that we work on. And of course, as FSSAI, we are responsible office. If ever anybody of you would visit here, as it was said in the morning in the first session, we don't use plastic bottles for water. So we have our glass bottles in, there's no plastic cutlery, down to the cafeteria for general public, you won't find. So because while we advocate, first we have to preach. So I think what we all need to do is get all of us together, whether it is consumer organizations or food businesses or food technologists, first to realize that this has to be done. And as Mr. Mishra said, yes, there is a growing realization in the public who even is ready to pay a little extra for it, but then we need to make it happen. Markets don't overcome overnight. We need to create those markets and finally deliver. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Jain, you have put it up very well, and I can assure you that the members of PhD Chamber of Commerce, especially under the Committee on Consumer Affairs, we would be working very closely with you to understand how we can go forward in terms of innovating and ensuring that we bring in innovations as part of the regulation. So having said that, now I would like to move on to another regulator, which is the Ministry of Environment, which has been represented very ably by Mr. Satyendra Kumar, who's the Director in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So I would request him to let us know that as a regulator, how would you make sure that when you bring in regulation, they are more like a facilitator and it doesn't add up to the cost, so that it becomes easier and good governance becomes the part of the day where everybody feels that that law has become an enabler rather than a barrier. So we'll have to work on that. So as a representative of the Ministry of Environment, we would like to hear from you that how would you help PhD Chamber of Commerce to take up this leadership on the occasion of the World Consumer Rights Day forward. Mr. Kumar, the mic is yours. Please unmute and come.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A very good evening to all the distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It is heartening to note that this year's theme for the World Consumers' Rights Day is tackling plastic pollution. As has already been mentioned by all the speakers, that the plastics are an integral part of our daily lives. And yet we are sitting here to discuss about its serious impacts on human health and environment if it gets littered. Plastics as such, if it is collected and it is recycled or put to an end use in an environmental friendly manner, is not as big a problem as if it gets littered. This problem has been multiplied in an exponential manner, not only in India, but globally, because of the increasing use of the single-use plastics in our day-to-day lives. When we say single-use plastics, it is a plastic commodity that we use for only once before it is discarded or it is sent for recycling. Having said that, understanding this global environment concern, not only by the countries across the world, but in India, India has already embarked on a multi-pronged strategy to tackle this problem of plastic pollution. The tackling of plastic pollutions, though, would be based on very sound regulatory and policy frameworks, but it has to be ably supported by the technological developments, adequate awareness and sensitization of masses that would result in behavioral and attitudinal change. It has to be taken as a public movement by the masses. It has to be seen as a problem that would, if not tackled in a very efficient and sustainable manner, would create problems for the sustenance of life on the planet, as has already been mentioned by many speakers before. In this quest of tackling the plastic pollution in the country, in 2016, Government of India framed the plastic waste management rules with a strong emphasis on the collection and then recycling or environmental friendly uses of the plastic waste that gets generated. At the same time, the plastic waste management rules also talks about the extended producer responsibility. And as was mentioned by Chair in the beginning, that how the government looks at enabling the different stakeholders, including the industry, in adopting and working the solutions to tackle the problem of plastic pollution. I would like to share that the enabling provisions of the solution of the extended producer responsibility to tackle the plastic and plastic packaging waste look towards the problem that the producers have a responsibility to manage the plastic waste generated out of their activities in an environmental sound manner. And for that aim, also in order to further streamline the things for the producers, the ministry is also working on coming up with a framework on the extended producer responsibility that was put in public domain. The draft framework was put in public domain in 2020. Several comments have been received, and an effort is being made in the direction to make such framework kind of giving an enabling environment to all the stakeholders. Having said that, in this journey of managing this plastic pollution, particularly the tackling of or the management of the single-use plastic is the most important aspect. And when we say that, the whole idea of managing the plastic pollutions, and particularly the single-use plastic, under the plastic waste management rules, the certain types of plastics and as well as some plastic things by several state governments, roughly about 32 states and UTs, have taken differential measures to address the problem of plastic and prohibiting the use of the plastic items, certain identified plastic items. Having said that, the national strategy of addressing this issue of plastic pollution hinges on three pillars of reducing, reusing, and recycling, which I have already mentioned about. I'm happy to share that in this direction, in 2016, the compostable plastic in the country was nil, and today we have in 2020 280,000 tons per annum production of compostable plastic, and which is 8% of the plastic waste generated in the country. Not only that, the recycling capacity or the recycling units have gone up to more than 1,400 in 2020. And this is only showing the intent of all the stakeholders that yes, this is a real issue and we need to move forward to tackle this issue. We all know about the plastic pollutions and particularly about the single-use plastic pollution. We all know that what needs to be done. It's only the thing that how the things are to be done to achieve our own aim of tackling plastic pollution that needs to be deliberated in a participative and in a collaborative, cooperative manner. And in that direction, all the efforts from the government in order to enable not only the citizens but also the industry has been, all the measures have been taken. On this World Consumers Day, it is incumbent on the consumers to look for the sustainable ways of consumption and for the producers to look for the sustainable ways of production. When the consumers will become aware that they will become environmentally conscious and they themselves will demand for the eco-friendly ways of packaging and the use of plastics, it will lead to a significant reduction in the quantum of the single-use plastics and overall the generation of all types of plastics. So the drive has to come from all of us, from all the consumers. We have to take our conscious steps to reduce the plastic pollution, to reduce the single-use plastic in our daily lives by adopting to sustainable lifestyles, which has been the traditional ethos embedded in our culture. With that intent, at the same time, not only the intentions of different stakeholders, but also in enabling policy frameworks need to be put in place. I would like to share that on 11th March, just a couple of days back, the Ministry of Environment has come up with a draft notification for amending the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 with respect to prohibit certain types of single-use plastics. They do not have a use footprint in terms of the quantum of the waste generated by the single-use plastics per se. Their percentage is not huge, but it is a strong way to look at that this is a significant issue that needs to be tackled in a multi-pronged manner.
You have to wrap up now.
Yeah, and with the kind of enabling provisions of the plastic waste management rules and the draft notification that on single-use plastic amending certain identified items, as well as participation of industries in looking in finding out alternatives, going for innovations based on different technologies, as well as participations from consumers and all stakeholders. We look forward to having effective solutions to an ever increasing global problem. And we believe as a country that we will definitely tackle this problem of plastic pollution in a time frame that is very pragmatic for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. You know, as you must be aware that PhD Chamber has got an exclusive committee looking into environment issues, and we have an environment committee within PhD Chamber of Commerce. My only request is that any policy or any kind of a notification when you bring out, please engage us, get us involved so that the right perspective prevails. And it, as I said in my opening remark, that it should become a kind of a more a facilitator, the regulation, than becoming a barrier. So I'm sure whatever policies you are framing, you will do it in that direction, in the favor of the consumer, in favor of the industry, in favor of the distributors. You see, all of the people would get benefited out of your policies. Having said that, thanks a lot. I would like to tell the President to kindly excuse me because I have to rush to some other engagement. And I would like to, if your permission, President, I would like to hand over to Dr. Yogesh to take over and moderate the session and take it forward. Dr. Yogesh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. And thank you, sir. And now, before I request Shyam Jajuji to speak, we have another speaker, young entrepreneur, Mr. Karthik Kamal Kumar. Karthik, if I can request you to kindly come on the dais and then share how your product is actually, saving the environment. And since you have already exhibited your product outside the auditorium, so if you can kindly share how this idea has come to you while you were in Japan, and then how best you can really support this single use of plastics.
First of all, good evening, everyone, all the fellow participants. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to PHDCCI for giving me this opportunity to speak here. It's my first time speaking at a stage like this, so I'm a little nervous. I'll be speaking freely about my product today. Being inspired from my father, who was also into a lot of social welfare and is a member of social trusts, charitable trusts, I wanted to bring some change in our society. I started my research on menstrual hygiene in 2018, and I observed that many of the organizations and trusts and political parties are involved in distribution of free sanitary napkin, and no one is focusing on the real issue, the real ground issue. That is availability of a sanitary napkin at the time of need and responsible disposal of these sanitary pads. I worked, and the idea came into my mind for developing a vending machine, bringing in the market vending machine for dispensing sanitary napkins, which can be installed in any female toilets at public convenient places, and it can bring a sanitary napkin to a woman in need. As well as I also worked on another issue that is, again, I mentioned, responsible disposal of sanitary napkins. Sanitary napkins are every day increasing and contributing to the plastic footprint in our society on Earth. And the best way to dispose the sanitary napkin is through an electric incinerator. Sanitary napkins, when disposed, when flushed or thrown away irresponsibly, can clog out the drains. And if they are put in a waste in bins, then also you be aware that animals also the stray animals, dogs also go through the waste, and it messes up. So we developed sanitary napkin incinerators, which can burn a used sanitary napkin to ash within a few minutes. And we also developed a smoke controller unit that absorbs the smoke and with minimal effect to the environment. I would like to request organizations to come forward and support us towards this issue, because our main focus is women empowerment to bring change in our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you very much. And as we have said that since it comes under CSR, we will certainly support that. I've already had a detailed word with my secretary. Please have a seat. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. A big round of applause for the young entrepreneur. Now I would like to request Shri Shyam Jajuji. He is the chairperson of COVID-19, on COVID, Global Summit on COVID-19. So he is going to share. And sir, हम आपसे ये भी request करेंगे कि आज के मौके पर, जो कि आज का हमारा दिन जो वर्ल्ड कंज्यूमर राइट्स डे 2021 है, इस मौके पर भी अगर आप आज हमें उद्बोधित करें तो बहुत. So big round of applause for Shri Shyam Jajuji.
वर्ल्ड कंज्यूमर राइट्स डे के इस शुभ अवसर पर पीएचडी चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स के अध्यक्ष संजय अग्रवाल जी, सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर योगेश श्रीवास्तव जी, दोनों को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आज के इस महत्वपूर्ण सेमिनार में उन्होंने हमारे मंच पर आकर हमारी फीलिंग्स आपके सामने व्यक्त करने के लिए अनुमति दी है। हम सब लोग जानते हैं कोरोना के पैंडेमिक से हम बाहर निकल रहे हैं। वैश्विक महामारी में हमने कभी फोरकास्ट नहीं किया था इस प्रकार की सिचुएशन को हमें फेस करना पड़ा। भारत ने तो इस कैलेमिटी को अपॉर्चुनिटी में कन्वर्ट किया और जो जिस प्रकार से हमने उसमें प्रवास किया है, हम सोच भी नहीं सकते कि इतना बड़ा पॉपुलेशन वाला देश, डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री, और जिस पैंडेमिक से बाहर निकलने के लिए केवल सरकार ने कोई कानून बनाना है, कोई इंप्लीमेंटेशन में बदलाव लाना है, इतने तक वो सीमित नहीं था। इसमें बाहर निकलने के लिए और विशेषकर भारत जैसे जहां हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इतना वीक है और इतनी बड़ी पॉपुलेशन है, ऐसे देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज था। तो मुझे कहने में बड़ा आनंद हो रहा है कि हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में उन्होंने जिस प्रकार से इस स्थिति को हैंडल किया, पूरी जनता का कलेक्टिव एफर्ट्स उसमें आए। पीएचडी चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स जैसे सभी अलग अलग संस्थाएं, एनजीओज ने अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया, पूरी देश की जनता ने अपना हाथ बढ़ाया और इससे हम बाहर निकले। इसलिए आत्मनिर्भर भारत की कल्पना करते समय एक ने बड़ा अच्छा स्पष्ट कहा है, जब देश को आजादी मिली तो पेनिसिलिन की दवाई लेने के लिए हमारे देश की हेल्थ मिनिस्टर कनाडा में स्पेशल चार्टर प्लेन करके गई थी और आज वही कनाडा भारत से वैक्सीन की डिमांड कर रहा है। जिस देश में मास्क तैयार नहीं होता था, भारत ने विश्व को होममेड मास्क की कंसेप्ट से अवगत कराया। यहां हमारे पास वेंटिलेटर तैयार नहीं होते थे। सब प्रकार की बातों पे मात कर कर हमने जिस प्रकार से इसमें आगे बढ़े, वैक्सीन का निर्माण करके तो हमने एक इतिहास निर्माण किया और आज हम कह सकते हैं 130 करोड़ के देश में 1 करोड़ लोग केवल इससे प्रभावित हुए। 129 करोड़ लोगों को बचाने में भारत सरकार, हम सब लोगों के सहयोग हुई। तो स्वाभाविक रूप से, और ये केवल इट वाज नॉट लिमिटेड अप टू इंडिया ओनली, हमने इस दौरान जो काम किया है, जो भारत की भूमिका रही है, हमने अपनी कोरोना की दवाई और वैक्सीन भी आज हम विदेशों में दे रहे हैं। कोरोना काल में जो दवाई हमने दी उसका 1 रुपया भी हमने चार्ज नहीं किया। विश्व के दूसरे देशों का जिस प्रकार का कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा, उसमें भारत का जो योगदान है वो सब लोग एप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं। और ऐसे अलग अलग देशों के प्रतिनिधियों की इच्छा व्यक्त करने के कारण ही हमने सोचा कि इस प्रकार की ग्लोबल समिट विज्ञान भवन जैसे दिल्ली के राजधानी में होनी चाहिए। बड़े बड़े डिग्नेटरीज उसमें आएंगे, कई देशों के प्रतिनिधि आएंगे, वो भारत के बारे में अपनी भावनाएं व्यक्त करेंगे और भारत सरकार ने सब लोगों के सहयोग से इस वैश्विक महामारी पर कैसे मात की, इसका भी एप्रिसिएशन होगा और भारत नई राह पर अभी चल पड़ा है, इसका मैसेज पूरे विश्व में जाएगा। इसलिए पीएचडी चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स के पदाधिकारियों को, सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं कि उन्होंने इस बात के लिए हमें यहाँ पर मौका दिया और आप सबको मैं इनवाइट करूंगा, जरूर आप ये जो ऐतिहासिक ग्लोबल समिट होने जा रही है उसमें अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे, अपने विचार व्यक्त करे और अपना पार्टिसिपेशन दे। इतने कहकर मेरे 2 शब्दों को विराम देता हूं। नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Shyam Jaju ji, he is the chairman of Global Summit on COVID-19. हमारे बीच शिल्पा जी भी हैं. She is the CEO of Global Summit on COVID-19. Shilpa ji, we will be in touch with you and we will ensure that whatever best support which we can give on behalf of PHDCCI. Yeah. With this note, before I request our Secretary General to give the formal vote of thanks, sir, we have the time. I have your permission to take some of the questions. Yeah. So, अगर आपके कुछ प्रश्न हैं, कुछ आप प्रश्नों को बोलना चाहते हैं, तो please raise your hand, give your introduction and ask briefly. Yes, can you give the mic over there?
Shakti Devesa Sharma. I'm an independent counselor for social reforms and working for 16 long years on the issues related to Indian reforms. The issue of plastic ban and recycling of plastic and one-time plastic use had been raised about 5 years back, and then the plastic was banned, and now it is full-time back. Any answers to that? Why and how so?
Professor Saha, would you like to give the answer since you are already there? Can you please unmute yourself? Kindly unmute, Saha Saab.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jogeshji. I think the question is very interesting. Our topic is today that tackling the plastic pollution, but all of us have been experienced that in the pandemic, plastic was the savior. The start from your PPE or mask, everywhere the plastic has gone. Yes, I think the issue is the government is trying to make this single-use plastic, what Satyendra Kumar ji was talking, that it is not really going to ban the whole thing. In fact, very interestingly, the packaging has not been touched. I have gone through the draft notification. It has only talked about cutlery or your straw or other things which has got a consumption is not that much. So, the madam, you have asked the question that yes, the plastic is going to be banned. I told in my presentation, it's very difficult to wipe out the plastics. Today, the plastics has entered in such a manner in your daily life. In fact, on food industry, where our Dr. Souvik Jain was talking, I can just give a statistic about across the world, even in the Asian region, 70% of processed food is coming in plastics packaging. So you cannot just say that I will just wipe out the plastics overnight. Maybe the entire packaging industry has to be shut down. So we have to go in a very slowly manner. Even the government is also very cautious. Government is not banning the plastics. They're going step by step. But this is a lesson, I think, as a consumer, we have to really understand that how best we can think about the alternate, how best we can really change our behavior. And that's the way we have to move away. But no way government has any interest to banning the plastics. It is government is also thinking that how best we can have a management of the plastic. That's a clean collection mechanism to be established in the country. And that is the whole issue, what I believe.
Thank you, Professor Saha. I think the gentleman there, if you can kindly give the mic over there, please.
My question is to Professor Saha. I am Abhishek Mishra. I am a BJP leader, also writer. Professor Saha, you must be knowing that we as a country were very much dependent on fossil fuels, but the Prime Minister said no, we'll go towards renewable energy. We started this International Solar Alliance, which one of the Prime Minister started. Now the whole world has come along with that. So your logic where you said that because we are 70% dependent upon plastics in the packaging food industry, so we cannot come down. I think already in fossil fuels, we have shown that. We were dependent on fossil fuels, but the Prime Minister was strict. No, we'll go with renewables also. So we have cut down, we have made targets. Similarly, I think instead of going again and again on the commercial aspect, that was so much industry dependent, I think the policy from the industry side should be, and people like you who are so wise, should be that how can we reduce the plastic at any cost? Because if there is no life, there is no commerce also. So I think that should be the priority, not the economics, but the health, I think, should come first. I think that you should prioritize. Yeah.
Okay. Can I give the answer? Yeah.
Please go ahead, Professor Saha.
Yeah, I think you're right. Across the country today, most of the institution, even we as a foundation, we are involved. Everybody is looking for what could be the innovation. Today, you see, we say that the collection is a problem. Collection is for what? The single-use plastic. If you take a milk pouch, the pouches which are being collected and recycled is not really a problem for us because the plastic is a single-layer plastic, all made from polyethylene. Our problem is coming multi-layer. When you talk about pouches of a namkeen pouch, which is a multi-layer material like a polyester, metallized polyester and BOPP, 3 different layer of structure. There is a problem. Even you collect it, unless you segregate the different layer, you cannot really recycle it. Now there are recycle mechanism has come, like in UFlex has started, many people have started the recycle, but again it goes that the quality, you cannot go back. But on a PET bottle, like your plastic bottle which is used for your drinking water, 100% polyester bottle is being recycled. But it is recycled not for food industry, it is going for a textile industry. Our idea is how best we can make bottle to bottle. So if you have in Europe, is already been notification has come that 30% of recycled material has to be used by 2022. So we are moving on that. And as you rightly said, the 70% processed food on plastic, yes, it is true. But what the innovation is going, all the innovation is being developed on a single layer plastics material. Instead of a multi-layer, can I make a single layer material with the similar property of a multi-layer so that it is easily recyclable? That's the way the movement is going on, and many institutions and many more development is going across the world. This is coming, but till date we find nothing has come so well proven that what the packaging can be done. Either the problem in packaging and non-packaging, the moment you say the food product to be packed, you are looking for a shelf life. The moment you look at shelf life, you need a barrier property. So all these property, it gives only a multi-layer structure. The multi-layer structure, because of come as a need-based, the innovation has come as a need-based. But it is true, we are moving ahead, how best we can apply a single layer polymeric material so that it is easily recyclable. But at the same time, alternative people are thinking from plastics, whether it can be moved to the metal container. Yes, people are thinking we can move to the glass container so that the reduction of plastics consumption can be done. That's also the action is going on.
Thank you, Professor Saha. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I request Mr. Sanyal to give the formal vote of thanks, I request Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to kindly give a small memento to Shri Shyam Jajuji, Chairperson, Global Summit on COVID-19. A big round of applause. President, if I can request you to kindly give a small memento to Mr. Karthik Kamal Kumar, also is the director and a young entrepreneur who has come up with this unique idea, and his product is already exhibited outside the auditorium. A big round of applause for him too. Now, I would request Mr. Saurabh Sanyal to kindly give the formal vote of thanks for this technical session. Over to you, Mr. Sanyal.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Shobhit Jain, Executive Director, Compliance Strategy Training, FSSAI. Mr. Satyendra Kumar, Director, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. Professor Dr. N.C. Saha, former Director, Indian Institute of Packaging and Chairman, Foundation for Innovative Packaging and Sustainability. Mr. Shyam Jaju, Chairperson, Global Summit COVID-19. Shri Jivaraj G. Pillai, Joint President, Packaging and New Project Development, UFlex Limited. Mr. Karthik Kamal Kumar, Director, Electra Co. Ottawa Weld Private Limited. Our President, Shri Sanjay Agarwal Ji, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Professor Bijan Kumar Mishra, Chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, PhD CCI in absentia. Former Presidents of the PhD Chamber, distinguished Managing Committee members, distinguished guests who are present here physically as well as virtually, ladies and gentlemen and friends from the media. It is again my pleasure and privilege to receive an overwhelming response from dignitaries and distinguished speakers assembled at this August gathering. The proof of the pudding in the eating, and we can see the strength, the physical strength and the enormous virtual strength where people are present and they are really taking the agenda of the World Consumer Rights Day forward, that is banning plastics. There are a large number of alternatives, as we are already aware. 5 years back, the newspapers were used as packaging, brown paper packages were used, which were very effective. Again, the fiber packaging has also come into being, and it is being used very extensively, including the PPE kits that we see on the aircrafts today while we are traveling in the middle seat. So this is the forum, this is the solution, and we all have to, the government time and again cannot enforce plastics, as somebody was mentioning. We have to ourselves inculcate that habit, and we have to ensure and take a pledge that we will not use single-use plastic. We will use recyclable material and plastics and go for alternative means such as newspaper packaging, brown paper packaging, and fiber. We are very happy to reiterate, and I'm again reiterating that PhD Chamber is the only chamber in the country which has the Consumer Affairs Committee and Public Health, where we are promoting and promulgating the ban of plastics, among many various other things which are harmful to the human being and to the nature. This would mean we are also hand-holding the MSME, the startups, which we have committees on in our chamber, where we inculcate this process of innovation in all kinds of material, innovation in manufacturing, innovation in services. And we are very happy to state that we are hand-holding the MSME to go global by using an active participant in the global, by becoming an active participant in the global supply chain. This is truly the beginning of Atmanirbhar Bharat and proceeding towards the $5 trillion economy as per the clarion call given by our Prime Minister, Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji. I also congratulate all the stakeholders today for coming forward to the program and contribute towards a plastic-free India. I thank our sponsors and supporters, Uflex Limited, Electra Colo Tower World Private Limited, and our esteemed partner, Conrad Adenauer Stiftung, for supporting the event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sane. Thank you very much. Last but not the least, if I don't mention the name of my team, those who have put a lot of efforts, Ajay, Sunita, Preeti, Bharti, Mallika, Krutika, and of course my dear Sanjeev, who has put a lot of efforts for this. And at the same time, a big round of applause for my secretariat team. And as I was sharing it with Pankaj ji, that we will be having a European time dinner today, sharp at 7:15. So it is also being sponsored by CAS. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We will have a picture, sir, over here, and then we will go outside for the dinner. Yeah. Please join my team also. Should join over here. I would request Peter, if you can kindly join. Pankaj ji, please join us. Mahesh ji, please join us along with us. Of course, Shilpa, the CEO of global program on this COVID vaccine, should also join. Sunita, Sanjeev, please join us.
India, an ancient nation that defied imperialism to be a modern economy at the heart of global growth. As technology evolved, so did India, becoming a country with one of the highest GDPs in the world. And among those who made India what it is today is the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the PhD CCI, a chamber where progress, harmony and development come together.
Atmanirbhar Bharat.
And as India further progresses to be Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, PhD CCI is ready to play a pivotal role. As the chamber is the most prominent voice of the MSMEs, it is perfectly poised to work in this sector to translate the idea of self-reliance into a reality. PhD CCI has steered many policies at the national and state levels. As liberalized India was evolving to be the new India, the chamber was at an advantageous position to offer thought leadership. So, many prominent policies have inputs from the PhD CCI. And as its contribution to growth, the PhD CCI has organized prominent annual events such as the PITEX, Agri and Hortitech, Arogya Melas, Defense Expos, and the Farm to Fork, among many others. Hence, the government recognized its contribution by issuing a postage stamp in 2005 in its centenary year. PhD CCI is a constant partner in the progress of the nation. It shares the government's dream of making India a $5 trillion economy by 2024 and has strongly supported the Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Startup India and Stand Up India movements. It has also been bridging the gap between policies and practices, particularly in supporting the MSMEs of the country, and its role is guided by the intense research it undertakes on different contemporary issues.
At the very beginning of the lockdowns caused by COVID-19, the PSD Chamber took proactive measures to begin holding webinars and virtual conferences in which all the stakeholders were invited. It provided the correct platform for the trade and industry to interact with the government authorities to try and minimize the disruptions caused by the lockdowns. In the face of such a difficult situation, the Government of India's resolve of building an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India with inclusive growth across all sectors of the economy, deserves highest appreciation. The rupees 20 lakh crore stimulus package to alleviate the difficulties caused by COVID-19 has therefore proven to be very timely. All indicators for the month of September 2020 show that the economy is gaining its vitality back again. Electricity and fuel consumption is up. The volume of e-way bills increased to a record 57 million for the month. Railways increased their freight tonnage by 13%, and a record 1.8 billion digital transactions were made.
What the Chamber is achieving today is the fructification of a humble effort that started in 1905. That is, even before the national capital moved to Delhi, 8 prominent businessmen created the Punjab Chamber of Commerce. From this humble beginning to becoming a gigantic force in the Indian business scene, PHDCCI constantly evolved, successfully addressing the needs of the times. Every time, its initiatives got the support of prominent personalities who steered the Indian economy. This partnership is still going on. PHDCCI has more than 2,200 direct and 1.5 lakh indirect members across India, and it has about 250 associate members and 16 state chapters. The Chamber has its headquarters in Delhi. It has state offices in Delhi, Chandigarh, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand,